Welcome, guys, gals from all around the globe to Leadership for the Future, Warrior, Scholar, Sage, where every single week we get together and talk about the psychology and the strategies to powerfully lead both your life and your business. This is episode number 60. So thanks for being here. And weigh in down below if you're on Facebook and just say hello. Tell me where you're from, where you're coming in from. This community is growing around the globe, and I really get excited to come back after the fact and to see who's here and who's tuning in. We're going out simultaneously to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as always. So welcome. If you're on Instagram, please regram or invite people to dial in who want to be more powerful leaders. There's never been a time in our history, in my perception, my experience, where we need true leaders. Would you agree? On Twitter, you can retweet if you would, please. And on Facebook, you know, it's right down here. It's really easy. Just exercise that index finger, hit that share button, and help me help you, help those that you love and care about. If you're just dialing in for the first time, tuning in, I should say, let me tell you a little bit about me. If you don't know me, I'm James Arthur Ray, and I've been teaching leadership now for going on 3 decades. That's a while. It goes all the way back to AT&T School of Business, where I was in the 80s, where I was a C-suite consultant for executives there on a myriad of leadership strategies. Again, even there, way back then in the 80s, I was still talking to them about leading their life and their business, because I don't think you can do business at the ultimate levels until you can do your life as well. Does that make sense to you? So I've worked on leadership skills both with mindset and strategies for some of the largest companies around the globe: Boeing Aircraft, AT&T, obviously, Coca-Cola, Remax, IBM. And I've worked with hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs from 143 different countries, all the way from startup to mega 6-figure, 7-figure businesses. Now, let me just tell you real quickly about an opportunity, and then we're going to jump into our next installment. But you may have heard about, there's a lot of buzz now because the response has been overwhelming about the upcoming Leadership for the Future Mastermind experience in Las Vegas. If you're on Facebook, there's a link right above my head. On Twitter, it's there as well. On Instagram, you got to make a little effort to go to my bio, but the link is there also, and it's by application only. We're being really selective. The response, like I said, has been overwhelming, so we've actually added a second date. We've got one coming up in November, and we've got one coming up in January of 18, because so many people have applied. And you're going to just fill out the application, and if you're interested in truly becoming a leader in this world. We live probably on the precipice right now of one of the most lucrative entrepreneurial opportunities in our history. Do you realize that 30% of the billionaires in our world have been created, get this, in the last 4 years? It gets even better than that. Do you realize that 11% of the billionaires on the entire globe have been created in the last 12 months? And so it's obviously not just about money, but there is a formula for where this world is heading, and there's a formula for you to be able to seize the opportunity to bring tremendous value and to lead your field and to make a tremendous impact on the world. And so if you're interested, let me tell you how to rethink your thinking. Let me share with you the 5 dimensions of leadership and ultimate performance. Click the link, fill out the application. These are so important that I'm taking these calls personally. Normally you would talk to one of my coaches or one of my faculty members, but I'm taking these personally because the slots are very limited, and I'm really serious about people who are ready to roll up their sleeves and get to work. We've got people coming in from Finland. We've got people coming in from the East Coast. So, don't let, I don't live in Vegas, be an excuse for you. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to seize and step into this greatest entrepreneurial opportunity that we've ever experienced and maybe ever will. It's only going to accelerate. Now, we've talking about this acceleration. We started off in this series talking about how to thrive in this disruptive, sometimes chaotic world. And we said there were three primary factors that have been researched and projected by very, very smart people like Yuval Harari from Jerusalem and Peter Diamandis and many, many others. And real quickly, just as a recap, number one, and by the way, not only must we adopt these and become powerful in them to survive and more so thrive, but these are also going to be the three hottest markets coming up as the future unfolds. Number one, the ability to literally become immortal. I mean, that's what science is going after. To extend a healthful, energetic, and vibrant life. Not a weak life, but a vibrant life. Number two, the ability to adapt, to reinvent yourself, to see opportunity where others see crisis and challenge. That's leadership. And number three, the ability to find true happiness and fulfillment in a massively disruptive world, sometimes apparently chaotic world, and accelerated change. So we started off talking about number one a couple of installments ago. In last episode, we talked about how we talked about your two primary assets, your mind and your energy. The two primary assets that your creative source has given you are your mind and your energy. And we talked about utilizing those fully. Last week, we talked about your mindset and some of the propensities you have. We all have. And some of the things that we tend to do and focus upon and how to recognize those and shift those. Well, let's get into energy in this installment, right? Because we talked that we explored rather that for every single year you live, science is coming up with a way for you to live 1 year longer. So now get this, if you live long enough, you can live forever. You with me? Now, but here's the paradox. Why would you want to live forever? And some people say to me, James, I don't want to live forever. I'll come back to that in a minute because I think you have a responsibility to live as long as possible. I'll tell you why in a minute. But why would you want to live forever if you're living miserably? Right? And that's what most people are doing now, according to research. About 75% of the people are miserable every single day. It's really sad. You see, there's a big difference between existing and enduring, right? And thriving and really living. See, and they're vastly opposite. You know, existing and enduring is not really living. Now, again, we talked about your mind and your energy in our last episode. And remember, Peter Diamandis, who I was in a room with a couple weeks back, believes that the job number one for me and for you is to up-level, is to upgrade, is to level up your mindset, to constantly be able to think and adapt and to do things differently, to redefine yourself. And you might go, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Oh, yes, it is. I mean, it's hard in your 20s. And by the time you hit your 50s, it feels like it's impossible. But I'm here to tell you from personal experience, it's not impossible. It's absolutely possible, but you have to do the right things continuously. Does that make sense to you? Now, while science is extending the ability to live longer, it's not just about existing. It's about thriving. It's about living. Big difference. See, it takes a lot of time to develop any amount of wisdom. It really does. I remember back in my 20s, I thought I knew a lot. And now I look back and I realize I didn't know much of anything comparative to today. So if you're a young adult today, take heart. If you know a lot, you're going to know a whole hell of a lot more, and you're going to get more and more and more wise with the wisdom of years and the wisdom of experience. But it takes, a long time to develop any amount of wisdom, because wisdom only comes not through knowledge, but it comes through experience. You can know about Paris, but you don't really know Paris until you go there and experience Paris. Get the difference? You know about it, but you don't know it until you have the experience. So here's the rub. By the time most of us achieve any degree of wisdom, our bodies are starting to wear out and they're ready to check out. What a complete waste of time and ability. Are you with me on this? That's why I told you earlier, you have a responsibility, not an opportunity, a responsibility to live, really live, thrive, as long as physically possible, because most wisdom checks out, because the body wears out. Let that not be you. Are you following me on this? Now, let's face it. This is the age of the entrepreneur. It really is. And if you're going to lead both your life and your business, it's going to take a tremendous amount of energy to do it. Does that make sense to you? Now, cancer is on the rise. Heart disease is on the rise. Alzheimer's is on the rise. Why is it that these diseases, I hyphenate intentionally, diseases of the body are so commonplace? Think about this. In a world where science and technology are extending the ability to live longer. Maybe we can live longer, but we're living longer sicker. It seems to be a complete oxymoron, doesn't it? Well, why is it? The answer, plain and simple. You ready? Economics. Economics. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that economics runs the world. But if it did, might they have a vested interest in keeping you sick so you can get pumped full of pills, and keeping you sick so you get pumped full of crappy food? And don't even get me started on microwaves. Okay? Look, economics, the meat and dairy industry. Let's face it. Come on, I want you to think here. I'm going to push some buttons possibly, but that's my job. And I'm kind of good at it, if you know me. Right? The meat and dairy industry has every single one of us by the throat, and they're not going to let go. There's just too much money to be made. Now look, I'm going to ask you to think. I'm going to ask you, we talked about adaptability. We talked about re-engineering. We talked about disruption. I'm going to ask you to think, to rethink your thinking, to rethink your programming that you've been stuffed with since you were born. Doesn't it stand to reason that if we're going to have a whole lot of life and a whole lot of energy, that you're going to have to eat food that has life and energy in it? Even a simpleton could deduce that. Why are intelligent people, I'm talking about people with doctorate degrees and, why are intelligent people asleep? It's called conditioning. called the matrix. And you're stuck in it, whether you want to admit it or not. When would now be the time to break out and to break free and to take your power back? Now look, I'm obviously no dietitian. I'm no nutritionist. So I'm just going to share with you my experience that I've applied for a lifetime that has worked really well for me. If you know anything about my life, which you probably do, I've been through hell and back, and I'm back, and I'm still going beyond. And I've got a lot of energy, right? I've got a lot of energy. And I think you would agree with that. So how the hell is it? Am I Superman? No. I just understand how things work. So take it or leave it. Do your own research. Don't listen to me. Do your own research and use your own body as a living laboratory, as I have done since I was 20 years old. And that was a few years ago. Bear, how could you laugh so loud at that? That is... Damn millennial on the other side of the camera. Did you hear her crack up when I said that was a few years ago? Look, there are more myths and theories around diet and eating as there are probably stars in the visible sky. Right? Right? I mean, you can Google and find anything to tell you that you're right. Whatever you want to believe, you can Google it and keep Googling it until you are told that you are right. And then you're like, oh, okay. See, I knew, right? So there's more myths and theories. There's the protein myth. It's a big one. There's the dairy and calcium myth. There's the vegetarian myth. There's the no carbs myth. The list is endless. And I'm telling you that one that had me by the throat for a lot of years, because you may know back in my 20s, which Bear, if you crack up, and I'm going to say this lousy joke again, that was a couple years ago. Back in my 20s, I competed in bodybuilding, okay? I don't look like that anymore. I'm into health and vibrance now. I don't have time for that because I have a life, and I'm doing bigger and better things. But I'm grateful for what I learned from that. And nonetheless, the myth that had me by the throat, and it's rampant in that arena, is the protein myth. And let me just tell you, the protein myth is entirely propagated by the meat and dairy industry. Economics. Here's a fact. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. It is next to impossible to not get enough protein if you're eating a lot of healthy vegetables. With that, I'm going to drink some chlorophyll, which is the lifeblood of plants. Does a body good. Look, broccoli, peas, kale. Kale is awesome. I love kale. And other vegetables have large amounts of protein. Now, think. We're talking about living long and prospering and being vibrant and having energy and not being weak and decrepit and all of these crazy diseases that didn't exist with our ancestors, and cancer and heart disease and Alzheimer's. Why is it now? Why? Why is type 2 diabetes just crazy wild and kids have it now? Let me back up. Can you tell I'm passionate about this? Can you tell I got some energy around this? Well, that's because I eat high energy foods. Actually, today I'm fasting, but nonetheless, I digress. Isn't it interesting, think, that two of the strongest animals on the planet, protein builds strong bones, drink milk, strong bones. There's no research to prove that drinking milk helps calcium. You know, and I'm gonna have to reel it back here today, because let me tell you something. Milk does not do a body good. Cow's milk is meant for calves. We're the only species on the planet that continues to drink milk once we get past childhood, calfhood, whatever. You know, we're supposed to drink mama's milk. Not forever, and if you do, you're weird. But we have human milk, and they have cow's milk, and cow's milk is meant for calves. It doesn't do a body good. It's economics. It's economics. Isn't it interesting? Think that two of the strongest animals on the planet, the elephant and the gorilla. You don't want to mess with a gorilla. You don't want to mess with an elephant. The elephant will sling your ass all around the jungle with his trunk, right? And you don't want to mess with a gorilla. You don't make a razorback pissed. Okay? You with me? Two of the strongest animals on the planet. You know what they eat? Vegetables. They're herbivores. They're not carnivores. They get most of their protein. We're talking about the protein myth here. It used to have me by the throat. Not anymore. I like peel that shit away. They get most of their protein from vegetables. Now, why are intelligent people sleeping? Now, I want you to think, really think. Isn't it interesting that all carnivores on the planet, you know, every single carnivore on the planet has long incisor teeth. Now look, my incisor teeth are not that long, are they? No, I don't think yours are either. Okay, unless you're in the movie Underworld, all right? And if you're a vampire, then maybe it's different. But if you're not a vampire, then you probably don't have long incisor teeth. Every single carnivore has long incisor teeth to tear the meat. We don't have them. I wonder why. Enough said. Now look, I'm not here to turn you into a vegetarian. That's a personal choice. That's a personal choice. But what I will promise you, from years of experience, remember, wisdom only comes from experience, is that if you eat a lot of dead food, like beef, chicken, poultry, fish, you won't have nearly as much energy as if you eat more foods with life and water within them, like fruits and vegetables. And don't even get me started on the GMOs that are pumped into meat. You know, they genetically modify chickens to grow bigger breasts so that they can weigh more and they can sell them for more. The chicken that you buy in the grocery store is not a real chicken. It's modified. The chemicals and the steroids. And don't even get me started on the fear. You know, tune into Netflix and watch any of the movies about nutrition and see how the animals are treated. Now look, science tells us every single thing in this universe is energy, right? And so fear is an energy. And if that's how you leave this life, this physical life, full of fear, do you think that's in the cells? Do you think that's in the fatty tissues? You know, and you say, well, James, a lot of human beings lead this life in fear. Yeah, and we don't eat them. Right? Now look, GMOs, steroids, hormone, all kinds of hormones, chemicals, fear. And, you know, do you think that if you're ingesting flesh full of fear, a broccoli doesn't scream. I can't find any science or any experience to tell me that a broccoli screams when it gets cut. And so if you're ingesting meat continuously that's full of fear, do you think that might have an effect upon you? Is that possible? Why? Is it possible? Why? You live in fear. I don't know. And don't even get me started on the microwaves. They're complete depletion of nutrients, as well as the radiation that they put in your body. You know, of course, now, the FDA tells us they're safe. Okay. Look, you heard of the blue zones? Look up the blue zones. Study it in the blue zones. People, it's called the blue zones. People who live to be 100 years of age or longer. Studies in the blue zones show that those who live to be 100 years of age or more consistently eat more veggies than meat. Now that's enough evidence to compel me, because you see, I have a responsibility to be as healthy and vibrant as long as I possibly can in his physical body. I believe I have not an opportunity, a responsibility, not for vanity, but to develop as much wisdom as I possibly can so I can bring that wisdom to others who follow behind me. How about you? If studies in the blue zone tell us that those people eat more veggies than meat, that's enough, even apart from everything else we've discussed. Now, look, I've been an athlete most of my life, and I've fallen prey to these myths in the past. I felt the big one: you can't build muscle without protein. Well, tell that to a gorilla. Okay. Now, this comes again from the meat and dairy industry, and it's just plain ignorance. You do need protein. I'm not saying you don't need protein, but look, you know, most bodybuilding circles will tell you need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I happen to believe that's too much. All right? But again, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. I'm no nutritionist. You know, I'm just giving you my experience here. And what I really want to do is encourage you and challenge you and help you to live a vibrant life. And I've been really blessed. I've been through hell and back, and I'm not beaten. I may be broken a little bit, but I'm not beaten. And there's a reason why. You know, I was in my dysfunctional home for 2 years eating crap out of a tube. Let me tell you something. That's not food. All right? I don't know. God doesn't make any kind of meat that comes in a tube. I don't know what that crap is. But for 2 years, I had to put crap in my body because that's all there was. And I'm still back, and I'm still healthy, and I'm not arrogant about it. I'm just so humble and so grateful that I've done the right things since my 20s, and I continue to do them. And it started with what we explored last week around mindset, getting the mind healthy and vibrant. Now let's get the body and the energy there so that you can rock the house, rock the world. So again, my experience: 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I think that's too much. But even at that, I weigh 195. And so according to most bodybuilding circles, if I want to build muscle, I need 195 grams of protein. That's not that hard to get. And by the way, that's 2 times more than the average daily minimum requirements that are posted by the USDA. You get that? 1 pound per pound of body weight. 1 gram per pound of body weight is 2 times more than the minimum requirements that have been posted by the USDA. So it's still, even at 1 gram per pound, it's not that hard to get enough protein. Why? Broccoli, asparagus, kale, all have protein. Lentils, black beans, wild rice, I love it, all have considerable amounts of protein. Nuts, I eat it by the handfuls every day, have considerable amounts of protein. And that's just naming a few. And at the same time, you get a whole lot of fiber, which, you want to live a healthy life, have a healthy colon. Right? You get a whole lot of fiber and you get a whole lot of alkalinity. Alkaline is critical to vibrance and health. Most of our diets are highly, highly acidic. And high levels of acid, which, by the way, flesh meat is acid. All of it, even fish, acid. All right? High levels of acid have been linked to cancer, it's been linked to obesity, and a whole host of other maladies. Let me keep repeating, just for the disclaimers, I'm not a nutritionist, all right? Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Do your own research. Prove me wrong if you can. I don't think you can. I'm just sharing my experience for what it's worth. You want to live a high energy, healthy, vibrant, long life? Yes. Because it takes a long time to develop wisdom. And wisdom, it tells us in the Old Testament, is the principal thing. And I think the Old Testament is right on that one. Then, if you want to live long enough, to experience enough, to have the wisdom, and to make a tremendous impact on the world, you are here. You're not here to make friends. You're here to make a difference. Not that friends are bad. In fact, friends are good, real friends. But they're few and far between. Don't get me on that. That's another topic for another day. But you want to have health and vibrance and longevity, then you need to eat a lot of high energy foods. Put the mindset principles into practice that we talked about last week. Peter Diamandis, according to Forbes magazine, one of the top 50 leaders in the world, it's not just my idea. He said he's one of the greatest entrepreneurs. He works with Elon Musk and many, many others. He's worth like $200 million. And he said the most important thing we must do as we move into the future is develop our mindset. It is to make sure that we have the ability, the mental toughness. This is me talking now. The mental toughness and the emotional strength to adapt and to adapt and to adapt and adapt again. Because you see, there used to be in history a long time ago, there was the learning years and then there was the earning years. Not anymore. Now it's the learning years and the learning years and the learning years and the learning years. And if you think you know technology, you don't know anything about technology, and neither do I, because the moment you think you know it, it's already become obsolete. And it's only going to accelerate. But let me remind you, this is the greatest entrepreneurial, most lucrative opportunity in our history. 11% of the worldwide billionaires have been created in the last year. And you know what? There's some fundamental principles that they have applied to get there. Let me share those with you. I would love to. Let me teach those to you, because it's all about making impact and making a difference and living with purpose. Put the mindset, number one, and energy, number one and one. Right? Into practice, and you're well on your way. You're well on your way. Now, next episode, we're going to talk even more on energy. Why? Because after all, you need all of it you can get. Am I right? So I want to thank you for being here. Again, if you're interested in getting ahead of the curve, if you're interested in learning to think exponential versus incremental, if you're interested in learning to think quantum versus Newtonian, because that's the human mind is not trained to think. Your mind is not trained to think exponential and quantum and nonlinear. Come join me. Click the link. Fill out the application. It's not guaranteed because spaces are limited, but you will talk to me because it's that important to me. I want to talk to people who are future leaders and are going to take this spaceship Earth to the next level and to make a tremendous impact on people's lives. If that's you, it's not for everybody. Then click the link. If you're on Instagram, little effort, go to my bio, click the link. Twitter, it's right here. And I want to thank you for being here. It means the world to me that you've shared this time with me. Until we speak again, be a leader, live your purpose, and take your power back.